you feel like it's going to, whoa, hey, computer, whatever. So what do you think the point is that the abuse turn, what is the thing that changes a victim to a perpetrator? What's the switch? Because it doesn't happen every time, right?
No. It depends of the circumstances in which this child has to survive. If it knows there's nowhere to go to talk about this, what had been done to them. And please, let's use always the right words, not what happened to him, but what has been done to him, right? Because this put the blame where it belongs, to the one who did it.
Right, and they're not broken. Let's just be real clear about that too. We're not fixing something that's broken.
No, absolutely.
We're helping them become what they should have been before they were
absolutely
injured.
But because then these children feel a tremendous amount of grief and confusion, and they have nowhere to go. Maybe because they have been threatened, or it is a domestic abuse, and they know they have nowhere to go. There can be several reasons for this. So when these children are able to transform that grief, which is a passive feeling. Grief is when you lose a loved one and there's nothing you can do. That person died, so you're grieving. Unless you can start blaming somebody for the death of this loved one. And that's what some are able to do. At least 10% of the sexual abused children. They are able to transform their grief into anger. And with that anger, this is an active feeling. You can do something with anger. You can't do anything with grief, but when you transform it to anger, then you can act out. And most of the time you will act out on somebody who is not to blame, because you can't afford to lose again. You see what I mean? If these people, when they are adults, they take it out on adults, well, there's a big chance they're going to lose, because they are not balanced between rational thinking and emotional thinking and sexual feelings. So they are lost. So what do? They take more vulnerable victims, like children or elderly or handicapped people. So because they need the feeling to win. They couldn't win when they were the victim, but they are not going to let that happen again. And that's what this elite is. And in fact, I have a message for these people, these creatures, that they are very weak, very coward, and that there is help for them. And they just are too cowardly to start the work and restoring themselves, because they are not happy. You are not happy, dear elite. I call you fungi, because you're always under the ground until one day you pop up like a mushroom. It must be very sad to live like that.
Kept in the dark and fed shit.
Yeah, because they are ashamed of themselves. They are ashamed about the fact that they have been victimized, which is not their shame. Let's be clear about that. But the decision they take to abuse others and to rape children is theirs. And this is not, but because he has been sexually abused when he was a child. No, it is a very conscious choice. So they are to blame. It's not an illness. It's not a disease. It's a choice.
Agreed.
So they chose to harm children. And that gives them, for a very little time, a feeling of relief. But it doesn't last, because they know this is a false form of relief. So they have to repeat it. And because they already made victims, they are charging themselves with even more blame. The first blame wasn't theirs, but they are piling up what they decided to do to other children, and they are to blame for.
Right.
So this is a vicious circle. They can't get out of this alone, especially not when they kill.
That was going to be my next question. So what do you feel like is the point between healing and not being able to heal? Where do you think that line is for, like, say, permanent jail versus death, or being able to heal from it and be able to be integrated back into society in a healthy, you know what I mean? Pay your dues, be a healthy member of society again, you know?
Yeah, but they don't want this because society wasn't there to help them when they needed it the most. It's understandable.
Well, yeah.
There was nobody who saw that this child was suffering from something. Nobody asked, "What's wrong? Can I help you?"
So let's say on the arse end of this, we've started fixing a very broken system, right? Say that we're on our way to a healthy system. Is there a way to integrate these people back into a healthy system where they get recognized for the inability of the old system to see what led to their abuse, right? We didn't see it. We didn't ask questions. We didn't do anything about it. They were right? It was a collective fuck up on everyone's behalf.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone had a part of it. Doesn't matter if you knew what was going on or not.
Yeah, there's a proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. Those villages have been destroyed long time ago.
Yeah.
And so these children were on their own. They lived in fear. They lived in confusion. It is horrible. It must be horrible. I have these children in therapy, but you can heal them fast as soon as you are aware of them and you know it, or somebody is pointing out, "I think that my little neighbor boy is being abused." Of course, I'm not the one who is going to go there. I mean, there are people from all over the world contacting me in these situations. Then I tell them what to do to approach this child and how to talk about the problems. And then reach out to the mother or the father, because you have no idea who is abusing. Sometimes it are the mothers, and they are more cruel than men.
Yeah. That is one thing that I know for sure, is that women are definitely more cruel than men, according to all reports.
Depending of the profile of the sexual offenders, it's a bit based on my experience of 35 years. About 90% can be reintegrated in society. Yeah.
So this is like this is what pisses me off, Carine, right? This makes me so angry, okay? Because what you just said to me is that we have an illness that is literally like a wart on our finger that pisses us off and it makes us uncomfortable, but if we acknowledge it, it takes one little thing and we can get rid of it. It takes a few switches, a few key switches, and the virus is gone. There's no more pain. There's no more turmoil for these babies anymore.
No.
Why? Why is this so hard for everyone to grasp?
It isn't so hard for everyone to grasp. This is to start with. These children should be noticing within their behavior, to start with the teachers. The teachers, and that's why they are completely liberating the education in schools. They are confusing children even more now with this gender lunacy. Most of the sexual abuse children are so confused that sometimes they think, "I must be gay or something, or I must be a prostitute, or I must have done something." Children put the blame on themselves, and child sex offenders know that.
Yeah.
And that's why my campaigns on my website are campaigns against the offenders. They are the ones to blame. And that is very strange because that is an agenda. One day a Jesuit told me, give me a child under the age of 10 and it will always be mine. And he's right. They know that. And you see it when I have confrontations between children and adults, abusers. As soon, even adults having been abused in their childhood, if I organize confrontations with their abuser, you see them regress in seconds.
Yeah.
The abused man drops to the age of he had or she had when she was abused. So there's a lot of work to do on it, and you have to know what to do. But in fact, restoring, I don't like the word healing because a victim is not sick, it's not ill.
Or broken.
Yeah, well, we have to restore them. And of course, you help them restore them. They are restoring themselves. But therefore, they must be heard. They are not even heard. The justice departments ignore them most of the time. And you can't heal from these things when there is no justice done, because the justice departments have been invented to avoid that we just knock each other dead with sticks. And
gladiator ring.
Yeah. So that's why they installed these justice systems, so that it could be done in a human way. Now, all that is gone, of course. It has been taken over a long time ago. But that means that the justice departments represent we, the people. Because if they are not there, we, the people, are going to take care of this abuser. If you see the punishments 100 years ago, you could get the death penalty for raping a child. Look where we are now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I was just going to interject there. Look at what it says in the Bible to do to anyone that has the willingness to hurt a baby. Tie a millstone around his neck and drop him in the river. Do not hesitate. There is no hesitation in that. There is draw the millstone upon his neck and put him in the water. Do not hesitate.
No, but for at least 20 years, 25 years, they removed God from the stage.
Yeah.
And they have took the place of God.
Well, they hope. They hope.
Well, they do play God.
They do play God.
Yeah, they are now busy with their genocide, and they don't feel guilty about it. All these, if you make the profiles of all those who are now in charge, be it Biden, be it Trudeau, be it whomever is now so cruel, make their profiles, go to their childhoods. And probably those who are in charge now, you have two different types of psychopaths. You have the ones who become psychopaths because of lack of love and protection and safety. But then you have a more dangerous sort. And that are the ones that have been overprotected, had too much love. Everything they did, it was always somebody else's fault. If something went wrong in school, mom was there an hour later to have a fight with the teacher. You know, these can't be restored anymore. You have to put them away for the rest of their days, or give them the death penalty.
So can I ask you just for like a hard comparison, right? Because you've talked to some seriously bad dudes, right?
Yeah.
That have done some seriously bad things.
Yes.
So what is the difference in the actions of those two types of psychopaths that you just talked about? So do you see what I'm saying? Like, what's like the victim trail like, and the damage like from one versus the other? What makes one worse than the other?
The one who is has become a psychopath because too much of love. It's not love, but overprotection and It's always somebody else's fault. These are the ones that they can't even feel guilt at all. They are entitled to do what they want, and that's the satanic. They call it satanic, but I am absolutely against those labels they put on it, because in the name of God they killed millions of people.
Yes.
In the name of Satan, they use the name of Satan. They use the name of God to do what they do. And why do they do it? Because they like it.
Well, because it's power, right? That's like the ultimate power grab that you're talking there. That's like, it's not just like a human form of power at that point. It's outside of what most people would be able to conceive of being theirs.
Yeah, and it's very difficult for people to realize what this is, because we are social animals, in fact.
Yeah.
They are not. They are not. No. And that's because they never had to take responsibility for what they do. And what do we see now in politics all over the globe? They won't take responsibility for the thousands and thousands of deaths or injured people. They won't. They will push it on everybody, but not them. And they will always do this. This is a pattern. But the others, there are a lot of other psychopaths who had been through tremendous violent childhoods. But somewhere deep inside them, because they were alone, not like the other ones that were surrounded by people always saying, oh, no. This is not my son's fault. This girl just triggered him. Or, they find excuse. I can give a gruesome example of one in Belgium who... No, it's a gruesome story, but I'll tell it anyway. These were rather rich people, 2 daughters, one of 19, one of 15. And the parents wanted to go for a weekend to Germany. And okay, these are not children anymore. And they warned their daughter of 15 that she was not allowed to let her little boyfriend in because the parents didn't like him. Of course, you know how this goes. Parents are gone, and the eldest daughter was allowed to go out, and she was out. And then the youngest let her boyfriend in, who was 16. Yeah. And all day long, they watched horror movies. All day long. And then around midnight, she said, I'm going to sleep. She went up. And after half an hour, she came down. She said, you're just still not coming? And he grabbed her by her hair. He cut off her head. He dragged her in the entry of where the car goes to the garage, and he pushed an umbrella in the vagina, and it came out there where the head was supposed to be. And the head he had put in the sink, and he opened it, and he ate some of her brain, right? Now, at 5 o'clock in the morning, her sister comes home, and she sees this horrific scene in the driveway. And she runs inside because there was a beginning of a fire. And she called the police. The fire extinguished itself because he closed the doors. He had put newspapers on each bed to burn the whole villa. And then, but he was gone. And then it was a terrible crime. And then 3 days later, the mother of the victim was in the bakery to order the meals for the funeral. And the mother of the criminal came in, the killer, who was captured by then. And the mother of the killer said to the mother of the victim, if you wouldn't have been to Germany for 2 days, this would never have happened.
No. What?
This says it all.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
How is that okay? Okay,
Well,
so
this is the education that this guy from 16 had his entire life.
So, and you know what makes me really suspicious of what you just said, right? On a serious level, if you look at society and the way that everyone is right now, the way that they have made mums, because they've broken up the family, right?
Yeah.
That you've got single mums raising little boys, and they're doing exactly what you're talking about, Carine. We're talking about that's like a mass. That's like a mass. That's terrifying to me.
That's terrifying. Because as long as they get what they want, it's gonna be rather okay. You're gonna work your
Oh.
asses off to give everything they want, but wait, now with the crisis, and you have to say, no, I can't pay that. Now the danger will appear. Because
Wow.
they won't take this. They won't take a no for an answer at all. And this is an agenda, you know.
Yes. It's
This
just
is an
amazing to
organ.
see how intricate it is. It's so intricate and it's so deep. Like, it doesn't matter what way you look at this, Carine. I could look at this from any angle, and you've just shown me another way that they have literally taken advantage of the way we work as human beings and used it against us.
Yeah, but they,
They've
you know,
used they
they
use
have all
mothers.
they
Sorry,
have all
continue.
the they have all the universities in their pockets. They
Oh,
give so
yeah.
much bribery money for universities, and then they ask the students to make studies of human behavior. So we are paying to have us examined like as if we are an insect under a microscope. And they know exactly how we are going to react. They know that exactly. They have all the studies, and we paid for them.
Right, and it all happened years ago. That was all MK Ultra. That's what I keep saying to everyone. Everyone wonders how this is all happening, and it's like, well, this is perfectly lined up if you look at our history, right? Like, if you look at those documents that got forced to be released from the CIA and stuff, and you match those dates up with what's going on right now, all of those programs are in full-blown rock style now.
Yeah.
They are all out in the open. You can see them with your own eyes. You can find the paperwork. There is no proof needed. You've got it around you.
You see it around you every day, every single day. And and people don't take responsibility for their acts anymore.
Wow,
oh, but it's
that's shocking.
society. Oh, but it's there's always something else, somebody else.
So do you think that okay, so just leading on from that whole conversation, right, from the psychopath side, what do you think? So do you think that psychopaths can be made without abuse?
Absolutely, yes.
So is that
But not
sorry?
not putting boundaries for children is already abuse.
Yes,
Because
true.
children need boundaries or they get lost. They are afraid. If you allow a child at the age of 3 or 4 to watch horror movies and well, these children, they are afraid at night, and nobody explains anything to them. So in fact,
That breaks my heart.
yeah, children need boundaries. There's no other choice, because otherwise they just run into a ravine. You know that. If you don't say, don't touch the stove, it's hot, well, it's gonna touch the stove, and
Yeah.
its skin will be sticking on it, and it will cry. But all
Well, they
this is
wouldn't do it. They
gone.
might not do it again. They might not do it again at that point.
No, but they might do something else again. And then again, then also there is this campaign the last couple of years of hatred against white men and men in general. But if you go back from where did that come from, it started with this women liberation front or something in the United States, where some women who were too ugly to find a man, let's be honest, started to get organized and wanting the same rights for women as for men. Yeah. And immediately, this was something resonating in the fungus head. Oh, we can use that to just let them clash. And then they started to give money to these few ugly women. And that's where it started, women's rights. And they knew, okay, now we're going to take if we can, well, give them their rights. They can go and have a job. They have that right. They have that liberty. It's not a choice, because at a certain point where everybody was obliged to have 2 jobs to pay for the comfort. And this was such a good idea that they could raise taxes on both, not only the husband, but also the wife. So they taxed the women too. Mm-hmm. And then the women had to put their babies in nurseries because they couldn't go work. They couldn't go working and at the same time raising their kids. So the bond, which is really holy, the holy bond between mother and child has been cut. Mm. At the age of 3 months, these children are in care with other people and all that. So there was a second break of the family. And yeah, well, it went on and on. At the end, and now when you have 2 incomes, it's not enough to pay everything anymore. Yeah. And then the man had to be removed from the household, because then it was easier when women fail to raise their kids, because you need a male figure in the life of a kid, yes, right? Then they could take them away and put them in homes where they were abused.
Or they could send abusive males into that mother's life to hurt then the kids, and there's a further break in the family, right?
Absolutely. But the easiest way was taking the kids away, for their safety. Yeah. And I have so many people who have been from the age of 3, 4, from one home to another home, and everywhere they were raped. And the elderly children raped the younger ones. And one of these care homes was in front of a parliament in the UK. So these high-placed people could just go in, make their choice, take the child, go to a hotel room and rape it. People have no idea how bad it is.
See, and you know what? I had this conversation yesterday. You know what? I just have to say this right now before you go any further. For anyone listening that decides that they can't handle this conversation, wake up, because these children, what we're talking about is superficial. This is literally something that me and you don't have to feel the pain of. These kids live this every single day. And if you feel uncomfortable enough that you can't listen to a conversation about these hard things, then you're just as guilty as the perpetrators for not acknowledging the situation and for not helping fix it. Because talking about it and discussing it and coming up with a plan is going to be the only way to change this fucking mess.
It is. It is.
Sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. The governments are not going to restore this. Why not? First of all, a lot who are in power are themselves perverts. So they are not going to change themselves. They are very happy with themselves. But also, I don't say all abused children, but there are consequences on long terms also of sexual abuse and other abuses. You have the 5 big forms: emotional abuse, you're ugly, you're stupid, nobody's gonna love you, from very, very early age, when this is programmed. Because people are talking about MK Ultra, but let's talk about the general programming also. And then the second one is emotional abuse, locking up children in the basement in the dark. A child has no idea of time. Am I going to be here for the rest of my life? How long do I have to be here in the dark without food, without something to drink? So the fear is again installed. Then you have the physical abuse, burning children with irons, with hitting them, knocking them down. Then you have a very underestimated one, alcohol, medication and drug abuse of one or both parents or caretakers, because then the responsibility of the falls on the shoulders of the child, because they don't know how daddy will be, they don't know how mommy will be, and there's no food, and they have younger sisters and brothers, and have to take care of each other. That's very, very underestimated. And then you have the fifth one, the one that covers mostly all other four, is sexual abuse. And when children are victim of at least 3 of the 5 forms of abuse, the chances are very high that they will suffer from a post-traumatic stress disorder on long term. And that's why we see so many now, after all these years, we see so many marriages breaking up, relationships breaking up, because there is a dissonance between their rational thinking, feeling, and sexuality. And then, this kind of children, abused children, don't forget that we are followed from the moment we are born and even before, till we die. And this means that they know, that's why they have these social services. They are not there to help the child. They are there to report higher up. And in the end, if children are, uncontrollable anymore, these are the perfect profiles to put in the police departments to knock down people who are manifesting against the tyranny. So many people wonder when they see this young man knocking down women, all elderly women in a wheelchair, and you say, what? We are paying you to protect us, and look what you're doing. And this is all over the planet. Why? Because they are selected on their bruises, I will say. Then you have the other part, who is all infiltrated without knowing, with good intentions, in the healthcare, because they are so harmed, they are so destroyed by the abuse they went through, that they try to heal themselves by projection. So they start to become therapists and healers and all that. But in fact, it is by projection. They want to heal themselves by healing somebody else, while at the same time, they can't talk about sexual abuse with their clients or patients, because that triggers them. So there you see that the complete health system is collapsing everywhere. And it's not a problem to be a very, very good and skilled therapist when you first heal yourself. And that's where my academy comes in. I started my own academy because I had no other choice. And I have, in 1 year, I had 350 students from all over the planet. And because there, I prefer, to be honest, I prefer people who had no university training. Because I have to deprogram them. And okay, if they really want to follow what has to be done, I have no problem. But I first need, when people subscribe for this training of 10 models, they have to make a motivation letter. Why do you want to do this job? Because you are obliged to work with child sex offenders too, not only the victims. Both. You do both. You can't understand the one without the other, and the other way around. It's impossible. Now, in our system and at our universities, you have to make a choice. Or you're going to work with offenders, which is even not since long, or you have to work with the victims. But you can't do both. Well, for over 30 years, I say fuck you all. My best universities were the child killers. Absolutely.
Well, who better to learn from? Who better to learn from, Carine? If you want to learn someone's craft, if you want to learn how to undo something, you learn their game. You are that's so.
Listen,
it's
so logical.
The fact that you exist and you have done this, thank you. Thank you for taking all of that time, all of the effort, and just everything that you've poured into this, because I've looked through the university and I want to start. So part of what I want to do is I want to start doing something where I have like a little kitty where people can donate or whatever, but that kitty is going to pay for someone to do this program through you, right? So like they can apply through me.
Yeah.
Right. So they can write to me and say, I want that. I want to be sponsored for that because, and they have to convince me that that's what they're going to do and that they're going to use it appropriately. So this is my goal for my channel.
Many people ask all the time, what can we do? Well, be a buddy for a victim or even a child sex offender to stop him from raping children. Because my frustration was after a few years, well, while I'm restoring a victim, her sex offender, her rapist is making between 120 and 150 new victims. From these 150 victims, 10% will become again rapists. So this is the upside down pyramid. And I didn't want to continue cleaning with the tap wide open.
Yeah.
So I do both.
How can you? The house is flooded, it's flooding, and there's no way to stop the water. You may as well step out of the house and start digging a trench for when the water's going to break out of the house.
Yeah. Or looking where this water is coming from. And the water is coming
that too.
From the offenders.
It's going to take a team. It's going to take both ends of the scale, right? Because we still have to drain the water as well.
But once you know how to help victims and stop offenders, it's so easy. Yeah. But apparently nothing more difficult than simplicity.
Yes. Isn't that true?
Isn't that true? Yeah. But in fact, the fact that they can, because in schools, when children, or I don't know if it's in your country too, but when they are 12 years old, then the school will help decide the child which direction to take.
That's everywhere.
There they tell you, but you're really born to be a therapist, to help people, or to be a journalist, or to be, but your profile, they have your profile. In fact, in some cases, they know where you've been to as a child. And then they just fit you in like a puzzle. Okay, this one he's very aggressive. We can use him to go to war. To join the army or whatever. But you're not born like that.
Yeah.
All children are born almost empty. There can be a predisposition towards violence, but then it depends on the social environment, how this can be handled and stopped. And one of them is correcting children when they do wrong, punishing children. And now,
reasonably, not abusing them, but reasonably punishing them and drawing boundaries. No, but people don't understand the difference anymore.
No.
Do you know what I mean? People don't understand that if you need to smack your child's bum, you don't do it out of anger. You don't lose your motherfucking mind and go and hit them and then tell them that they've done something naughty. That's not how punishment works. And if you lose control of yourself like that in that moment, then you're not ready to do the punishing. Yeah, absolutely. If you can't stand there and say in a reasonable tone, you made this choice, this is the consequence of your actions, this is what's going to happen now. If you can't do that, then don't touch your child. If you can't not touch your child out of anger, don't touch them. Just don't touch them. It's better off not damaging that poor little soul and just I don't know, even yelling. See, this is the problem, right? Because it's like what you said, the perpetrator creates more victims, right? Yeah. So while you're trying to heal that broken child, you've got that parent abusing the other kids in the situation because they don't know how to control themselves. They don't have coping mechanisms for their parenting skills anymore.
But they took it away. You have no rights
Of course.
on your children anymore.
Yeah. And they broke the family up, so there's no teamwork. There's no teamwork between the mum and the dad. The dad is usually the one who would so the mum makes the boundaries, the dad reinforces them, right? Yeah. He's the fence, he's the strength. He's supposed to be there to hold that together, you know?
But it is sometimes enough to look to animals. I mean, I think it was in Kruger Park. There were too many elephants elsewhere, and they moved them in Africa to a new natural part, but only the youngsters, the young elephants. In not even a month, it was a disaster. They were aggressive. They just ran into the gardens of the inhabitants. They ate everything. There was anarchy. And they didn't know what happened, what is going on. It took them several weeks to understand that there was no male, there was no bull. So they didn't want to move the bulls because they were too heavy, and to move them with helicopters, they were too heavy. But then they understood, my God, we have to do something, because they were attacking everything, even the people that came to feed them, everything. And they destroyed everything also. They just ran over everything, every fence, everything, cars, everything. And then, so they did move some bulls and brought them to the place where these youngster elephants were. It didn't take 3 days, and they were in line.
Yeah.
Well, if this is the case with animals, and elephants are intelligent creatures, they know that, and that's why the bull father has to move. And then you are, a little bird for the cat, and the children will be theirs, and that's where we are in now.
Yeah. So a very interesting note, just back to that whole, you were talking about trauma, and like how when you're born as a baby that you're genetically empty, basically, like your mind is empty of that trauma, right?
Like a computer.
So, yeah, kind of. So I was doing some reading. I talked about it in one of my last shows, but I was doing some reading. So when a mum is pregnant, right, and she's got a baby girl in her belly, that mum in that moment is holding 3 generations of baby in her, right? Because a female forms all of her ovums as she is conceived, right? So the mum is 1 generation, the baby inside of the mum, and then the baby's inside of the baby, right? What they're showing, what's happened is it's like these babies have recently sort of started hitting 21 and 22 and started having their own babies since 9/11. And what they found is that those 21-year-old adults have PTSD from the womb because of what they experienced through 9/11, right? And then what they're finding now is that their offspring have mental capacity issues. I'm not saying it's the only thing, because obviously we know there's lots of other things poisoning, but these mums are genuinely experiencing PTSD when they haven't had anything in their life associated with it, like with trauma or anything like that, except for the fact that they were in the womb.
But also everything's a human being, and probably animals too, a human being experience goes in the memory of every cell in your body.
Yes.
So if you conceive and you are having a baby, part of these cells go over, and this information, it's like a USB stick. We know so little about the human soul and what a human is. But I think these fungi know enough to destroy it and to put it on their planning, their agenda for use, for proper use, because that's how they are. Egocentric creatures.
Right, and I think that you saying that really resonates with me at the moment, because I'm stuck in this dichotomy, right, with like a lot of the people that I talk to are very strong Christians, Okay. And I believe in a creator. I totally believe in God. I am a godly person. I live by what you would count as the 10 Commandments, right? Like that's how that's whatever. That's how I like to live. That's my choice.
Me too.
But it's also a common ground, right? Like those are common rules that if we all followed, regardless of what your belief system was, that we would be better. The whole world would be a better place.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Why do you think they took Christ away in schools, everywhere? You were not modern. You were not progressive.
Yes. And see, I think that's my problem, right, Carine, right? Is like that people rely on like a Bible to say, well, look, this is the Bible. This is what, but that's a form of religion to me, because the Bible has been interpreted by the same people that everyone complains about in these circles, like the Freemasons. Yep. Right? So you can't tell me that these people haven't rewritten history accordingly to control us through those mechanisms.
About around 300 after Christ.
Yeah. And like I think that's part of, I don't know why I pointed that out, mostly because I guess it leads back to this abuse thing, right? Because if they control the information and how it's filtered down to you, they can control you with that information. Look at what just happened with COVID.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you know, even those the most horrific killers know the difference between good and bad, but they choose to do bad. It's a choice. I have to repeat it.
What do you think makes them choose bad? What do you think ticks them in that moment?
Their anger.
Their anger.
Bitterness. And bitterness is frozen grief.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen this enough when I worked with these killers in prisons. When you start talking to the child within them, the frustrated, angry, grieving child, they break immediately. They start crying, but nobody ever talked to them. I mean, if I have to talk to them when they are suspecting a murder or whatever, I am never going to talk to the upper ball of the snowman. This is the rational thinking, and because they had all their energy to survive and to think of things, how they can cheat on people and steal from people. They are much smarter than I am. I can't beat them. But I will make sure that when I go to talk to them, that it is on for them unconscious important day. For instance, the anniversary of his mother. I'm not going to talk about it. But if the anniversary is the 9th of September, for me it's a perfect moment to go and talk to them. They are not aware of it, but unconsciously they are. And I will always go to the second ball of the snowman. Everything that has to do with emotions. Saying, for instance, my God, I saw your file. You had a very difficult life as a kid. And I'm not going to talk about the murders or the rapes or whatever. That would be stupid. They know what to say. Yeah. They know how to push me back. But they are absolutely handicapped and enabled on an emotional level. But that's my area. It takes me 10 minutes and they're on their knees.
So there's a couple of people I'd like to get you in a room with and be the little watcher on the outside of the glass. For sure. One of them being Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Oh, yeah. I told that once in an interview. I would give money to
I would pay.
A live conversation with Hillary Clinton.
Yep. I would like to. There's a few names.
I'm sure she will be afraid. She will be scared to death. Although I'm not a violent person.
It's not about violence. It's not about violence. Violence to them is breaching whatever they've built up around themselves, right? That doesn't mean that we have to use violence to get to it.
No, because you won't reach them.
And I think that's why, so just in resonance with everything going on in the world right now, I think that that's part of what's going on right now. They don't know how to deal with a peaceful uprising. They have no idea how to deal with a peaceful uprising.
Knock it down.
Yeah, how? Like, you're knocking people down that are fighting. Like, you know, and it's just useless. And everyone looks at them and laughs because they just show how weak they are.
Yeah, and they don't even do it themselves. Somebody else has to do it because they are too coward to come out and say, we're going to knock you down. They're afraid. So they're cowards. So I can't understand that people admire them and give them some goddish statue because they are the president or the premier. Well, we haven't chosen for them. We didn't vote for them. They're just there all of a sudden.
I think
because they make their way. They make their way.
I think that's part of the illusion that they want to bring, right? Is that we do have a choice and that voting is a choice, right? That happened at the beginning of the dichotomy of right and left, right? They created right and left so that we could fight. They didn't create it for any other reason. And they can create whatever branches they want off of that, but it's still to create this. It's still to create friction and to give people a reason to fight.
Yeah, and then in the end saying, you see, this is a democracy. You have the right to vote left or right. But they already raped all the words, all our symbols. Democracy, yes, for them, not for people.
Yes.
You know, all these good intentions and NGOs and help organizations, they started well. They all have been infiltrated and hijacked, all of them.
Yes, 100% all of them have. But I don't think all of them started with good intentions. I think they used and abused the laws associated that they wrote themselves with that so that it was like an illusion, right? It's like a magician's trick. They look like they're doing good.
Yeah, now.
But really they're just pillaging and raping everything behind the scenes.
Yeah, but most of the organizations like human rights and all that, they started from or doctors for people in need, and you know, all these organizations started with good intentions, but then they put a CAO there, and then all of a sudden it is used. When we see now what is going on in Ukraine, more and more reports are coming out that there is not $1 going to the people. Nobody knows where the billion of dollars go to, but it's surely not to the people. Well, are we? You know, if you know this, you are accomplice to the eternalization of crimes.
Yeah, agreed. War crimes, to be specific.
Absolutely.
Not just standard crimes where one person walks into someone else's house and hurts them. You're taking out full countries, killing mass amounts of people. We thought that this whole death shot was bad. You know what I mean? So have you heard the recent numbers about like the insurance companies and stuff?
Yeah.
That is massive. That is insane. We've lost more people in 1 year. We've lost more millennials in 1 year than 10 years of Vietnam War.
Yeah. But they don't want you to know. And when do people change their minds? When it happens in their own families. It's the same with sexual abuse. Yeah. Nobody minds until their child has been raped.
Until a squeaky wheel says something, and then everyone has to start paying attention.
Yeah. And that's sad, because this shows that the social glue is gone. It's gone. We can restore it.
Of course. But we don't have we need to find the recipe again. And we need to find the recipe that makes it so that we have the ability to do it through this mess that they're perpetuating still. Because it's like working over the top of a poison, right? Sometimes, like, if you've got a snake bite, let's say, right? You've got a snake attached to you and he's pumping you full of poison. How do you stop the poison from spreading whilst also working on getting the snake off of you? Do you know what I mean?
Cutting off your hand is a start.
Well, yeah, cutting off your hand might be a start. Like, what? But then you're going to bleed to death, right? Potentially. Is I don't know. Do you just see what I'm saying? There's so many different levels of first aid that we have to consider in that instance, and that's where we're at right now. We are being pumped full of poison. We've got a poisonous snake on our arm, and we've got to do some serious thinking about how we're going to deal with the next however long it is, like advance that out into however much time is going to have to pass for it to happen, you know?
Yeah, well, my message to the people who are lost in all this and follow the masses because they don't want to be alone, they want to be part of a group, because all these individuals feel lonely, and because there is no social context anymore. And then when they have one aim, they think they have a big family. We all go for the jab. Okay, that's your choice, but is it your choice, or is it just because you want to be part of a group, the majority, if possible? So these are things people have to be aware of, that this is not them thinking. And for all those who had been suffering from child abuse in whatever form, you were not to blame. Okay, you were not to blame. So put that blame where it belongs, so that you can be free and not being dependent on a system that is even abusing you more. Don't do it. You deserve so much better. So start working at yourself. Let God in again, because I'm not somebody going to the church each week. I don't remember even when I've been there, but God didn't want a church. He said that where 2 or 3 people are together in my name, that's my church. My father was a very intelligent man. He said, do well and don't look back. Don't wait to be famous or glamour or thank yous, or, just do well and don't look back. Do it because you want to do it, and do it with your heart. And to be honest, they tried to kill me. They tried everything. There's not one day in my life that I feared. Not one day. I never felt myself threatened. It's very weird, but I know I'm protected.
That's the armor. That is the armor that we all need to be wearing.
Yeah, but everybody has it, but most are not aware of it. Don't fear. Don't. And don't comply. Don't bow. I've said that just when this COVID and this fuck down started. I said it in an interview with, I think it was Robert Steele, who suddenly died.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I could believe it. I said, I will not bow. I will not bow. I will not comply. I prefer to die. And I'm not afraid to die, because I'm ready to die. I did the right things. So I have nothing to fear.
Yeah. Which makes you a very dangerous but very special human being.
Yeah, well,
it makes it so dangerous to the cabal. Let me be specific. Dangerous to the cabal and the people that aren't willing to do better, right? But powerful for people like me and others that look to you for your experience with these things and your knowledge that God has blessed you with having the experience with, right? And to be able to help us heal these people so that we can try and get on top of this.
But we can
because
do
there's
that.
Oh, of course, but there's not many people are willing to ask the questions or spend time with the same monsters that you have. Not everyone has that mental capacity.
No,
and not everyone has
45 years. I mean,
of course,
we need the help now. Now,
yes.
We need as many trained people to help them trust themselves, to say the right things and to handle in the right way. And therefore, there is this training for. And in 10 steps, heal yourself first. And then you start with the little boys and little girls from the age of 6 to 12. There are all workbooks. You can sit at the table, at your kitchen table, working with a child, the child of your neighbor, and explain, and then they have to make tasks and they can make drawings. It is completely adapted at their age. Then you go to there are the adult men who had been abused in their childhood and still suffering from it without even knowing. They just have reactions that you can recognize immediately. And then when they start healing themselves, they become complete. They come home to themselves.
Yeah.
For the women, the same. The hurt little girls, insecure women, is a workbook for women who have been abused in their childhood, and to get rid of being insecure, which can translate into becoming again a victim of a spouse or a partner that will abuse them again, or become themselves very aggressive and business-like women, and ignoring their femininity and their emotional side. So, but when they can heal themselves, or they can do with a friend who follows, because sometimes it's difficult to relive some things. And when you're not alone, they can do it themselves at home. They can do it with a friend, a trustee, a priest maybe, or they can do it with a therapist and ask, can you help me go through this workbook so I can heal myself? Or they can choose a therapist from my academy who already has started their practices, and they are freaking good, because I make the exams and I correct them too, and I say, oh wow, this is not okay, this is not the right way to think about it, and then, but I have very, very good therapists already working even with SRA victims, and also with child sex offenders.
So do you find that there's more interaction? So have you got programs in any jail systems anywhere through these people yet? Like through the trained therapists?
No, I don't work with people. I lose too much time. I am contacted by lawyers or the judges when child sex offenders in prison have to have therapy, and then I go to the prisons. But in fact, the best area to have therapy with child sex offenders is in prison. But the system doesn't want it. So it's going to be an eternal fight, but I will win that. We will win that.
Well, I was just thinking I might try and see what there is here, to see if there's anyone here already integrated into the system therapy-wise, but that would be able to add that to their cache of knowledge. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But we have to go parallel in every area from our society now.
Of course.
Not waiting and trying to change the politics, not waiting and changing the help to other people. Just start your own thing and do it the right way. You're going to lose years, and they will keep rejecting you, because you have to follow the agenda. I don't follow agendas. I follow the right path. And that's to do the right thing for people, whether it is to stop them from harming others or to help them restore themselves. It is not difficult. It's a bit like learning a language, not Russian.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't learn languages well. I wish I did. If I spoke as many languages as I wanted to, I'd speak every language on the earth, I'm sure of it.
Well, there are many. But, this is not something that is outside yourself. You know what is the right thing to do. It's just putting it back in the right frame. And from that point, you can start working with other people, with victims, and also offenders who have been abused in their childhood. But in my therapies, first of all, the offenders, we start with stop offending.
Yeah.
Later on, we're going to heal the child within you as an offender. But first, we close the tap. You're not going to harm a child anymore because I say so. That's how I speak to them. because I'm
they're
talking. They are 6, 7 years old, and then on the people who are following the training, they have access to little films, movies I made therapy while I was having therapy with offenders, but also with victims, and you will see the tremendous difference in approach. But when you have these victims, these offenders, most of them are men. I don't want to work with women, really. I'm too disgusted. I know they are there, but they are more cruel than men even. And I was aware of that when I had practice placement in the Graceful Institute in Birmingham in the UK. I never heard of women abusing children. That was in 1993. And there were 4 of them in a group of, I think, 15, 16 child sex offenders. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And I had a very hard time, especially because I have a lot of victims who have been abused by women. And there I've seen that they are even more cruel than men. They have more fantasy to torture.
That's so confronting as a woman and as a mother.
I
that
know
is
that
so
I can't work
confronting.
with them, but I work with victims from them.
Yeah, of course. So do you?
I think I would slap them.
It would be hard not to. Oh man, it would be hard not to step into some kind of ring with them and just rip them apart with my bare hands. Oh,
That's what I mean. I can't do it. I have my limits.
I know, yeah. Well, that's a pretty high limit. Most people couldn't even make it that far and realize that.
I don't know how to talk to them even. Being a mother, being a woman, talking to somebody who is also a woman and a mother. But why did you do it? Okay, we can talk about their past and their tremendous traumatic childhood. That would be okay. But then the step for me, but that's personal, to go over and how come you started abusing children? I can't.
Nope.
I give up on this one.
I'm with you. But you know what? At the same time, isn't that's the picture perfect what you were talking about with like feminism changing everything and stuff, right? They've become more men than women.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes sense in some twisted way that there is now more women offending as well. It makes sense. Like, and I know it's stupid. It's a freaking stupid logic, and I wish we didn't have to use it. But like, obviously, it's part of.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
But I can send you after the talk a video about a little girl who is 6 years. She's so beautiful, cute little girl. It's the worst psychopath that you will ever see.
She doesn't. Is that a video from like the 80s or the 90s? No. And it's like a little girl, and she hurts her little brother and stuff.
Yeah. There you see how early this psychopathy can slip in. But in the end, she had very good therapy, and they were able to restore her.
See, and the way that happened was that she was abused so early, wasn't it? It was like she was abused when she was like baby, and then when as she grew up, that's what happened.
Yeah, but we know, by talking to criminals in prison. I had one, he was French, and he said, vous savez, madame, lorsque tu fous quelque chose dans la bouche d'un bébé, qu'est-ce que ça fait? Ça suce, non? Which means, listen, Miss Hutsebaut, if you put something in the mouth of a baby, it sucks, doesn't it? It never, ever crossed my mind. Ever.
Stop it. Oh,
and then for weeks I was thinking, How many fathers do this with the baby? How many strangers do this with babies? And the babies don't even have a language. They know that it is wrong. They know. The soul knows that. But they have no words. They start giving signals by bashing their heads against their beds and all that. And when you approach them with a spoon to eat, they panic. But I had 6 months, a year later, I had a mother who came to see me in my office, and I didn't dare to say what I thought. And she said, well, there is a problem with my baby. It was for her problems, but she had her baby with her. And it was a little girl of 6 months. And she said she doesn't want to eat, and she's losing weight, and we don't know what it is. I knew. I couldn't tell her. I said, well, maybe it's a good idea to have a punction of the stomach and see what's wrong there. And she did, and she was horrified when she called me. She said the stomach was full of sperm. So the child couldn't eat anymore. I know it's a lot of horror, but that's the world. And we don't know.
Those babies experience that, Carine. I might feel uncomfortable with that, but those babies live through that, and then they've got to deal with damage that they don't even know is there.
No, and
they're going to live damaged adults forever. Because we can't, even as a therapist, even as someone who recognizes the issue and says, okay, this is definitively the issue, abuse is the issue, that is beyond the capability and memory of that child and that being.
Yeah, because they don't have the language, the words.
They don't even have the cognitive memory yet at that point.
No. And they will never understand why they are scared of things, why they don't feel whole, why they don't. What is the matter with me?
That to me is so much more horrific.
Yeah, nobody is studying this. Nobody. In the Netherlands, now in the Netherlands, that's our neighbor country here in Europe, there is a book out from a criminal, but they don't name it criminal anymore. How to Rape a Newborn. And it's not forbidden, this book. When you say this has to stop and we don't want this and we don't want the jab, we are banned, and they are able to put us in prison because we are terrorists. In the Netherlands, this book, you can get it on the internet. And 2 weeks ago in Germany, there is no shame anymore. There were all kind of, especially men, manifesting because they want sex with animals out of the punishment system. And they were walking with their dogs, and they want to have sex with their dogs, their cats, whatever animal. So we are really at the bottom of perversions. Really, really. And they are not even ashamed.
How does this happen to people? Listen, I get it. I get that trauma creates this. I get it. It's so hard for me as someone that would never have sex with a dog. You know what I mean? Like, what? How is that even a thought process?
But in these sex rings, in these networks, many children are raped by dogs. Yes,
I know.
Testifying this. But now these adult men want sex with their animals, and they don't want to be punished for it anymore. So they are now demanding from the government to get it out of the jurisdiction and the punishment system. And you could see them, they were not even ashamed, many of them. And I was looking
How could you not be ashamed of that?
I don't know.
Because God!
There is no moral anymore. And then I was watching this dog, a German Shepherd, and I thought, oh, you poor animal. You poor animal. We're going so low. Not we, they. And it's
No,
allowed.
but we listen, we're all part of this human link. One of my biggest problems with this whole thing is that we're like a chain, right? And every single human being on this earth is part of that chain. We're only as weak as the weakest link on our chain.
Well, you see the result.
Look at it. It's horrific.
Yeah.
Listen, babies. You
Yeah, but they
just can't
die.
even.
Most of them die. I had to expertise a man who raped his 6-month-old baby, and well, the child had been, I think, for a year in recovery in the hospital. But I don't know in the meantime, because this is 20 years ago, how did that child develop? In fact, I don't have the funds, I don't have the time. I should follow up on this and see what happened to this child later on. What are the consequences? There is no studying that. They are studying us like we are insects, but they are not studying the harm, because this is what they want, harming the human soul. And we see the result of all this around us. And for people like us, Katie, it's very, very difficult to keep our head up and go on with the fight. But we owe this to the millions of victims that did not survive sexual violence and abuse, and also those who are at every second we are talking being raped, tortured, and those to come. And all these adult people who have been abused in their childhood and degraded and not being whole anymore, for all of those, we need to go on. I've never been a victim. I could have had a much easier life without threats, without attempts to bribe me, But I am here for that. And in fact, we are all here for that. So take up this cross and let's stop this. Our whole planet is going down. And we are, as a creature, as a human creature, we are so wonderful. But how would these people be able to be creative, to create things, when they need all their energy to stay alive, to restore themselves, to get balance, not knowing where it comes from? If you could use this energy to build a better world, well, we would have had another world.
Absolutely, we would have. We would have had a world within a world within a world at that point.
Yeah, and we would progress on all levels, on the soul level, the emotional level, the rational level, everything. I can't even imagine how that world would be.
No, me neither. I'm with you on that. But I try to. The point is that we try to imagine that world.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's like even attempting to imagine that world is more than what a lot of other people are doing at the moment. Even though, like you said, more and more people are leading to this point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we have to restore. Time. Yeah, but we have to restore what others have destroyed. We can't, and we are too little. We are not many enough, and that's why it's a bit a cry. Please get trained. Please go into the world and restore every human being that needs help. And you will see them if you take the habit of watching class pictures. The pictures they take in classes when the children are 4, 5, 6 years. You can pick them out, those who are abused, because something is broken in their eyes.
The eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah, I can pick them out immediately. Yeah. And how many hundreds of thousands committed suicide because they couldn't live in this world anymore, because of the abuse, because of not being recognized as a human being, as a beautiful creature, and no help.
with endless potentiality, right? And the potentiality ends as soon as the life is gone. So if anyone is listening to this by any chance and is having thoughts like that, reach out to someone, because you're worth more and you deserve better.
Absolutely. Find help.
And people care. People want to listen to you. You just have to find them. And I know that's a lot of work to put on a victim, but like, it's better than dying. It's better than giving into the perps, right? Giving into the pain.
They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. They flourish in the fact that you're in that point of misery, that you're going to take your life, because then they don't have to pay for the crimes they committed against you. Ever. There's no chance that you'll ever talk, and they didn't even have to do anything.
Well, I had 3 months ago my first victim that committed suicide. I never had that before, just because the Justice Department did not pursue his rapist when he was 8 years old. That boy was 22, and he put his head on the rails of the train. He didn't want to be here anymore. But we worked, he was so broken, but we worked on a letter towards his offender during his therapy. And I have this letter. And now it's the question, am I going to send it to the perpetrator? He's just walking free. But this beautiful boy is dead. And his parents are mourning. They did everything in their power. They didn't know until he was 19, because he was threatened by the teacher that if he ever talked, that he would have serious problems. So he had psychosis on psychosis, and the parents didn't know what is going on. And then when he was 19, he was in a mental health hospital. He started talking about what had been done to him. So immediately the parents made a complaint in the Justice Department, and it dragged on for 2 years, 3 years, and then they said, well, there's no proof, and he couldn't work this out anymore. He wanted to die. He absolutely wanted. I tried everything to avoid this, and one of the things we worked on was a letter to his criminal, and I still have it here.
Can I make a slight suggestion? I would send it.
We are thinking of sending it, yes.
I would let that precious boy and that precious soul that didn't get a chance to become anything that he should have, have a chance to say something. To say something from the grave that man put him in.
Yeah.
That would be like the dead rising, coming back to speak to him. Can you imagine how scared that 7-year-old inside of him is going to be? You know? Just in that moment, because it's never nothing can happen now, right? Because whilst there was no proof then, now there's definitely no proof, because the witness is gone.
He's gone, yes, but he's still there. He's still there. I mean, the letter is still there.
Yeah.
And it's not to get vengeance, but just to let that person know. Ask for forgiveness for what you've done. Repent. Recognize what you did. You destroyed the life of a young man since that day when he was 8 years old. And you pretend that nothing happened.
Well, because they're not the ones that are damaged in a way that it's in their forefront. They've anesthetized themselves to that pain, right? Like, you think about it, if they are victims themselves, they've hit that point, like what you were saying with the whole grief side of things, right? They've anesthetized themselves with anger or bitterness.
Also, this is a teacher, and I mean, with how many children has he done that? How many committed suicide? How many is he going to continue to rape? If you have a letter from a victim and he knows, that's what we said, we put in one of the letters. Now, in that letter, I know that you know that I know. Just do with it what you want, you know. So to remind him, I can guarantee you, Kaylee, never again will he have an erection when watching a child. Because that voice of my patient will be there. I know that you know that I know.
Sometimes that's all it takes. I say all it takes, but sometimes that can be that trigger that stops that person from perpetuating those things.
Absolutely. And that's why on my website, timetotalkabout.org, you can find flyers where it is complete other prevention, not with the burden on the victim, but on the offenders. And one of them is, we are watching you. You have no idea what impact this has. And there's another one of them on the website saying, it's up to you to say no. And that's an adult man. There are others where you see like a CEO writing, and I've put the slogan, are you one of them? They must have the feeling that they are watched, and we have to watch them. They're free. Nobody is pointing at them. It's always the victim. The burden is on the victim for everything. And then they can't win. And they feel even worse. And then they kill themselves because, what's it worth? I can't get justice.
The pain has nowhere to go.
No, and these are the most gruesome crimes in our existence. And they just get away with it.
So do you think that it's possible, and I know that the current climate is shit, right? I know that everything to do with the monetary system is collapsing. I get that, right? Is there a potentiality of starting like centers or something around the world where we can not necessarily focus on victims, but say bring perpetrators in? Say, look, this is, because I don't know, like you would know about this, right? There's a massive movement online that refer to themselves as MAPs, minor attracted persons. Yeah. They also claim to be virtuous pedophiles, if you can say that at all. Yeah. Just those words. Yeah, no, and I say, so the reason why I used pedophile in that way is because apparently they're non-offending, right?
But that so doesn't mean he loves them. If they watch pornography with children, these children are used to feed their fantasies.
That's true.
No, that's not an excuse.
Fair enough. No. Okay, yep, no, fair enough. I would change that. So pedocriminals, because I usually do. I usually do use that word. You taught me to use that word.
They don't love children. They love sex with children. And that's
well, they love the power of the sex with children.
Yeah.
Because if you put them in a situation where there was an older woman and they could still, and they could still take advantage of that woman, they would.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but see, that's a power thing. I feel like that's not necessarily a sex thing. I feel like that's a power thing. It's not. They might get pleasure.
Yeah, they use their penis as a weapon.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but for all those pedocriminals who are watching now and who are interested in minors or even non-compliant people, grow up. Grow up. You are just little boys, angry little boys, frustrated little boys. And in fact, you're not part of our society. You're not. But get help and stop. You know you're doing the wrong thing. You know it. You know the difference between good and bad. Well, stop being a coward. Be a hero and admit what you have done to all the victims you made, to society, to the consequences of our lives, of all of us. And start the hard work on yourself to become a complete person and help our society out of this. Because never ever, with all your wishes, you have been thinking of the victims, of the children. Never. It's all about you. and you're not happy anyway. You can become happy when you restore yourself and you restore the damages that you've done towards others and to society. That's my message.
What a great message. What a fantastic message.
It's also one of hope for them.
Yes, of course. That's why it's so fantastic, right? Because it fixes multiple issues with one sentence. You're helping the perpetrator, because then in turn it helps the victims that could potentially be or have already been victimized by that perpetrator. It covers all, it puts all your eggs in one basket.
But it's all linked. It's
Yes.
all linked. And if you want to heal our society, we have to heal this first.
And heal the family.
This is done, yeah. And once this is done, our humanity can flourish, finally.
So we need to teach family unit, and we need to get the predators some help. Those are our two goals for the next, well, I'm going to say forever until it's fixed, but so my goal is to send as many people your way with a scholarship of some descript from me, right? Or from the donations of the people on the channel, where I can start filtering through people from all over the world to you, and you can start helping these people be able to go back out into their communities and integrate these teachings, because that's the only way we're going to be able to magnify it and spread it.
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to put the website on your screen somewhere so that people can have a look what this work is about. It's very well explained. Also, interviews I had. We are now a bit working on the website, but people can find enough information on it now to start working already on themselves. They're restoring themselves, feeling better, feeling whole, and from there becoming themselves, if they want to, healers for all the others, because there are many. There are approximately between 44 and 50% of adult people having been abused in childhood. This is gigantic.
It's massive, but we can fix it. Like we keep saying, we can fix this.
Yes.
I'm just going to flash up on the screen. Really quick your website.
Yeah, that's it.
Can we see it now? So this is the website. You can get your online diploma down here. You can talk to someone here. It's very, very cool. The blog is really well done. All of Carine's books are available through here, which she has many.
Yeah, but if people just wait a little bit, there's going to be a huge discount instead of for the whole training, and then the personal assistance and all that. Instead of $3,500, it's going to be $2,000.
Beautiful.
So we can reach as many people as possible.
It's hard when you put so much. Look at all this hard work. Listen, I know how hard it is to put together like stuff. You know what I mean? That's hard. You've done really well. That website is really easy to manage. It's easy to work through. It's easy to find all the answers. And to click and find the course is really, really super easy too. I didn't realize until just then, though, that you could buy the books individually.
Yeah.
So those will definitely be going in my...
work on themselves, also offenders, if they want to work on themselves. Of course, the module 9 is missing because this is the exams. So 9, I'm not going to put the questions on the internet. That would be a bit easy, wouldn't it? But people who take all the courses do their exam, and when they succeed, they get a diploma. And I help them starting their practice, because I still have 11,000 emails to answer from people begging for help, and I don't know where to send them to.
Wow. And is that from all over the world?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to work really hard at getting something together. I'm going to put together a little like thing, and I'm going to work it out. It might take me a couple of months, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure that I start filtering people to you, because we need healers.
Yeah, but these healers will be able to form other train other healers, and that's how we take our world back. It's our planet. Fuck, it's not theirs. They think
No
it
way.
is. I'm gonna take our planet back, and that's one of the ways to do it.
Well, and I am more than happy to help with that, because that is such an honorable thing. I am, you know what, for whatever little it means, I am so proud that you exist. Thank you for existing, Carine. You're amazing.
Thank
I
you
am
for existing.
so damn proud of you. That is, you are a human being that I would pay to see the judgment day for you. I want to see what God says to you. I want to see that embrace. Let me just say, I want to see it. Everyone talks about.
We're gonna take the front seats and see how God reacts to the others.
Well, listen, we know how he's going to react to them. But you know what? I want to experience the love and capacity that he's going to have for people like you that have fought through everything to try and make this world a better place for him and for yourself and for everyone. Yeah, of course.
Not everybody has the skill. I don't have many skills, but I have the skill to explain a very difficult subject and problem in an easy and understandable way.
And you make it digestible in a subject that is completely distasteful. It makes people highly uncomfortable. You convert that into a way of speaking. It's so amazing. And you know what? Every child in existence, whether they're abused now, could be abused later on, or don't even exist right now, or don't get abused at all, they all benefit from having you around. Thank you.
Thank you for the honors, but it's a bit exaggerated.
It's not. It's really not.
We have to.
It takes people individually. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and then we go on.
Absolutely. Well, so like, you know what? I'm just going to say one more thing really quick.
Yeah.
We're like a human body, right? So everything is like from a macro level to a micro level. We all have cycles, and we all have a place that we have to be able to make the body function.
Yeah.
Right? So like inside your body, there's different cells for different things, right? Not every cell can do the same job, and not every cell moves at the same speed as another cell, right?
That's true.
But collectively, it makes a functional human body that is so resilient that it can take on anything.
That's a good analog. Absolutely.
And that's what we have to do. We teach ourselves to be individual cells. We do what we can with what we've got, and we make a functioning human body.
And society.
Well, but that's society is the human body that I'm talking about, right? Because we are a living, breathing society. We have to have life to be able to be living. You know what I mean? And to be living, you can't have the trauma that is dampening down your life.
No, it's really very restraining, and it is not necessary. It's not necessary. You can get off this and be free, finally free, and happy with yourself. And that's the most important thing. And do the right things.
The right things come with being in tune with yourself, right? When you're in tune with who you are as a human being, and you know what the consequences of your actions are, you don't do those things because you don't want to face the damn consequences.
And also, you don't need them to do. You don't need to do these things.
Right.
So you don't have the feeling to do this. You have the feeling to do right and good. And then our planet will change. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Let's do that. You know what? I'm going to hit stop record, because that's a beautiful spot to end that really quick. You say, thank you so much for sharing that, Carine. I am going to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much for your courage. It was very pleasant, and at the same time a difficult subject, but it's full of hope. We will take our planet back.
Do you know what? And that is the first time that I've heard a conversation like that, full of hope. How can you talk about such horrific trauma and yet have hope at the end of it? Because there's hope.
Yeah, because there is a way out.
Yes, there is a way out.
Probably I would have committed suicide if I knew that there was no way out. But
Yeah.
there is. But we
There
have
is.
to put our shoulders under this and say, stop it now. Now it's gonna be our way. And we will succeed. We will.
Yes,
That's
we will.
what we are here for.
Well, that's certainly what God put us here for, I think, definitely at this time.
Yeah, I should have been doing something else since a long time, but I can't.
Saving babies seems to be a good thing to be stuck on.
Yeah, absolutely. And stopping those criminals to do harm, to do anything.
So by stopping the criminal, it's that cycle thing. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? You know what I mean? Because while we're cleaning up the mess of the chicken's birth of the egg, we've got to also take care of the chicken and the egg.
Yeah, at the same time. But we can do that. We can do that.
Totally. Human body, remember? We're all supposed to have different jobs.
And we are connected.
Absolutely. Bioresonance. Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother 2.5 hours. My goodness.
One day we'll have that.
We absolutely will. I'm just going to hit end broadcast and we will talk to everyone soon. Thank you everyone for watching and we will be back shortly. Bye.
Hope to see you. Bye.